Hi, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to bring you tools for transformation to live your highest truth. What is the highest truth for you, and how do you find it? I love to invite people onto the show that use all kinds of different methods for that inward contemplation, and yet a broad, brighter projection. Today, I welcome Llewellyn Publications author, Ailynn Halvorson.
Hi.
Is it Ailynn? Did I get it right?
Close.
Oh, Ailynn.
But
I
close
knew
enough.
that. I knew that. Just so you know, it's Mercury retrograde is approaching. So
That's for sure.
I know that she'll understand. So I'm very excited about your book, and it is called Tarot Apothecary. So let's talk about something that I believe leads into the creation of this book, the 4 wisdoms.
Yeah.
Does that apply? I read that in a blog that you had written, and I think that
Yes.
applies to what you're giving us in this book.
Right. Yeah. It's the combination of tarot, aromatherapy. We've actually changed it to five wisdoms now. We've added another one.
Okay.
My editor did that. So we have, like I said, tarot, aromatherapy, what I call imaginative meditation, numerology, and simple everyday rituals.
All right.
Are the
Which one shall we
5
start
different
with?
We could start with tarot, I guess.
I'm actually going to stop you. I changed my mind.
Okay.
I'm going to pick. I want to try imaginative meditation.
Sure.
Because meditation is tricky, and it's a very, very important tool for all of us, right? So that's something that I think is within immediate grasp of our listeners. We're told to be neutral in our meditations, but tell me what you mean by imaginative.
Imaginative, it's kind of like a shamanic journey in a sense where you choose a person to meet with or a place to go and to find out information from that source or that place. So it's putting yourself in a specific place or with a specific person or ancestor or guide or tarot archetype, and spending time speaking with them. So it's like you're choosing where you're going and you're allowing your imagination to take over, and allowing the individual or archetype to talk to you and to just listen to what they have to say. So it's a lot of just, a lot of times when we do like in shamanic journey, you do go to a specific place, but a lot of times I've heard people say, "Oh, it's just my imagination. I'm not really connecting with this individual or this person. It's just my imagination taking over." Well, I want your imagination to take over.
Okay.
I want you to let your imagination be the guide and get all the information you can from that.
Brilliant. Okay, so interesting. As you're going down the list, I can see where maybe tarot would come in, because that might inform who you would be conjuring or where you might be going.
Right.
So interesting. Okay, so tell me in order, is there an order to these wisdoms that you would apply?
In a sense, in the book, I kind of go through what I call the Tarot Apothecary approach, and I lead you down different steps as you go along. So the first thing we kind of get into is tarot numerology, the numerology aspect, because that tells you who you are in the tarot. It gives you your gifts and your challenges in your life. And then we go into what year you're in the tarot, because that gives you the energies that are surrounding you currently right now. And it gives you the gifts and challenges of this particular year. So you can take a look at that energy and say, oh, well, this is a magician year and I have the power to manifest what I want. What do I want to manifest this year? And you can write those down and make a list. So it's a really good planning tool for the year and for your whole life, really.
That's great.
So we start with the numerology.
So how do you figure out?
Energies.
Okay, I mean, I kind of know how I would get my number, like through the years. People have worked with me, and I know my number, but I guess I've never applied it to a tarot card. So
Yeah.
do you have is there always that card that's your card through your life?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
and I bet we can work with you to figure that out, right?
Oh, and it's really quite simple.
Okay.
It's just adding together your birth date.
To get
And
to
the
the
old
number.
fashioned way, I tell people do it where you have to carry the one, like 03 plus 07 plus 1954 and add down. And you want to be able to carry that one or whatever. Don't add just straight across. Some people add just straight across and you start missing digits. So add down, and then you'll get a number like 1964. Then you add across.
Okay.
And you'll get a number. And anything
So 1 plus
22 or
9
below.
plus 6 plus 4.
Yes.
All right. And then you mash it up and it comes to 2.
You want me to give it to me again? I'll do it real quick.
Well, just do 1964.
1964 is 20. So yeah, 2.
And then it becomes 2. Okay, that's great. Just to give, this is like super duper, ghetto numerology. Just like giving it to you on the quick.
And it's really basic.
Back of the napkin, but it can be as simple as that. Okay, so we've got the number 2, and then
in the tarot, that would be the high priestess. She's number 2 in the tarot. So we're working with the major arcana, which are the 22 major archetypes in the tarot.
Okay.
And those are the only cards you work with for numerology in the tarot. And you're going to reduce down to 1 through 9. You're going to be one of those first 9 cards in the tarot. And that is who you are throughout your life. And that tells you your gifts, challenges. And what I have to tell you that when I discovered this, it was in a book by Mary Kay Greer. On vacation, I picked up that book and I read it and I did my numerology and I finally understood myself. My whole life, I was like, didn't know who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And when I found out I was the hermit in the tarot, I was like, oh, you don't have to know. You just have to trust your intuition and keep following the steps and you'll get there someday. You're gathering your tools right now.
Okay, so let's back it into the apothecary steps that you are recommending.
Yes.
Okay, so you figure out your number, right?
And you figure out your number. And you also figure out what year you're in, which is another numerology trick with tarot.
Okay.
Which is separate.
Right.
Then once you have those 2 pictures in your mind, of who you are, what your gifts are, what your challenges are, what year you're in, what the energy is for this year, you can start planning. So it's all about who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And setting an intention to move forward.
I think this is great. And I love I know we're here mainly to talk about aromatherapy and tarot, but here we are talking about numerology. And just reminding everybody how these are disciplines that are completely intertwined. And it's funny, just as we were prepping for the show, Tony Sweet, our producer, was like, "Oh, it's 222, my angel number."
Yes.
And I think that everybody, I mean, I am crazy for 1111. I see it often. And 333 is another one. 3 is my number, but I think my actual number is 8, but we'll talk about that another time. So it's good. And it's great. And again, I love applying this to numerology, which I'm sure has been done for millennia. So for a long time, maybe millennia is a little long, but a long, long time. So, all right. So tell us then, you've established your card, you're figuring out where you're at on a particular year.
Yes. And you can look at those energies, then figure out your intention. I mean, what is it that you want to do? And let's say you have this big plan to start a business or something, and you look at your year's energy, and maybe it's not a year to move forward. It's a year to finish things up, or maybe it's a year to move forward. It's like time to go. It helps you start planning. You set your intention. And then from there, it's the matter of adding in outside elements. I call it kind of like working with your senses, your five senses, to reinforce movement forward. And part of that is before we get to the five senses, I guess we would want to choose an archetype in the tarot to help us move forward.
Okay.
And maybe we just stick with what year we're in. Maybe the year we're in, let's say you're in the Chariot year in the tarot, it's a year to move forward with focused intention and not let your emotions get in the way. So don't let all those fears that are coming in at you stop you from moving forward. So it's a year of moving forward. So then you would choose, let's say you decide to work with the Chariot. Then it's got a long list here. We would look at what elements you're dealing with. And I mean earth, water, fire, and air.
Okay, so when you say we're dealing with, is that as it applies to the Chariot card?
Applies to the Chariot card, yes.
Oh.
And whatever archetype you choose, or whether you're sticking with your tarot year,
okay,
you choose, and the element will become apparent as to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the element, let's just for the listeners, the elements would be earth, wind, water. Not wind.
Earth, water, fire, and air.
Okay. Ether.
Yes.
Okay. I get a little
Yes.
confused and okay. And each card.
And each card relates to a different element.
The suits. Yes, I do know that.
Yes.
I do know that.
So if you're, let's per se, you're working with the Chariot this year and you decide to work with the Chariot card, the Chariot card, like I said, is about focused intention, moving forward without letting your emotions get in the way. So in the book, I have suggested a specific essential oil to go along with each card. You don't have to use that oil. I've also, in the back of the book, I have a list of oils that relate to what element. So you can go to the back of the book and say, oh, I'm working with the Chariot, which is water element. I really want to be in control of my emotions and not let my emotions get in the way. So you can choose to maybe work with a water oil that is calming, that helps relax you.
What would be an example? Okay, would that be, say, a lavender, for example? I mean, we obviously associate. I mean, that's aromatherapy.
A good water oil. For the Chariot, I believe I chose lemon balm, Melissa, which is a very mellow, calming. You could use something like chamomile.
Yeah.
Those are both water oils that are calming. And you could choose to get a bottle of the oil and just sniff it in. You could choose to use the herb in a tea. If there's chamomile, there's a herb. Lemon balm, there's a herb. You can make a tea and drink your tea. So by smelling the oil, you're bringing in the sense of smell. Tasting, you are bringing in taste. I also recommend wearing the colors of that element. So wearing blues and whites and greens, the colors of the ocean. Wearing those colors brings in sight. And so working with your senses, another way I have you work with your senses is I have keywords for each card. So for the Chariot, it may be focused intention, clarity, determination. And I recommend writing a mantra using those keywords. So you have the sense of sound, hearing, and not only are you saying your intention or your keywords out loud to support you, but you're giving that message to the universe that this is what I want. This is the energy I'm calling into my life. I'm calling in clarity. I'm calling in calmness, so that I don't let my emotions get out of the way. Another thing you can do when working with a specific card, maybe you want to call in an additional archetype to help. And I work with the four queens within the tarot.
Okay.
And of course, there are, knights, pages, kings, queens. But I feel like the queens embody the element they're a part of. So the Queen of Cups is all about that water element. She
Right.
embodies it, she oozes it out, she owns it. And by calling her in as an additional archetype to support you, you start embodying that energy as you study the card, as you wear her colors, as you wear her scent, relating to her elements. And all of this starts to come together. And eventually you start stepping into that energy. So it's about of calling in all your senses and allowing them to help you to move forward.
It's very powerful. I
Yeah,
like
and
it.
it's
It's
really
working on multiple levels.
right.
I believe that.
Right.
I believe in that. And I think it's great. You're giving us lots of really good ideas here.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I choose one of the keys, the four keys was ritual. And I choose simple everyday rituals. And what I
Okay.
mean by that, it's something simple as getting a bottle of water, getting a piece of masking tape and writing across that bottle of water what you want to drink into your life. And every time you drink that, you're looking at the bottle and say, oh, I'm drinking in joy. I'm drinking in courage. So there's simple rituals, nothing big that you have to spend 25, 30 minutes on doing. It's something you can do every day, drinking your tea, feeling the warmth, saying your prayers and your blessings and asking for what you want into the tea and then drinking it in. Just simple rituals. So it's like you're constantly being reminded through different acts that you're doing and using your senses of what you're trying to accomplish in your life and what you're gonna accomplish in your life, should I say.
Yes,
So
indeed. It's intentional living. So it's taking the intention, but I like it because you really are giving us tips that we can incorporate quite easily into our lives,
yes.
even if you don't happen to have a tarot card or feel like figuring out your numerology. I like the simple, the clarity that you're offering, and that's my word of the year. I love it when you say when I hear it. It's like, oh, there it is, clarity, that constant reminder. Maybe that's something people want to do is choose a word at the top of the year and listen for it all the year long
Yes.
and hold on to it. So it's really great. So, okay, you had mentioned making teas and getting an oil or something like that. Now, looking at your website, you bring up plant magic, and so I'd love to know a little bit more about how you associate plants with the cards. And I am going to throw one more aspect into this question. Are you using the Rider-Waite tarot deck, or does it matter? Are there always plants that are associated with the card, having nothing to do with the actual illustration on the card?
Right. I recommend the Rider-Waite for beginners. I think it's the easiest deck to learn on, but you can use any deck that you want. I always recommend getting a deck that speaks to you. Because in my book, you don't have to be a tarot reader to use the book and work with the cards. It's more about, because I give you the information that you need in the book about each of the major arcana cards in the four queens. So it's not about being a tarot expert. It's more about reading the cards and choosing which one speaks to you at this time and which one you can work with. Which one's going to call in the energies you need. So you could use any deck. And like I said, I always recommend one that speaks to you. To be honest with you, I have like 142 tarot decks and I switch them out all the time.
Wow, I am impressed. I am impressed.
I collect them. I love them. So
how? Yes, I mean, I understand that, and I have all kinds of. I don't necessarily have a lot of. I mean, I probably have 3 tarot decks, but I have other things. I have like flowers and angels, and
yes.
So I have a lot. I really do enjoy different cards, divination cards. I really like it, and maybe someday I might make my own. I've always thought about that.
You should.
So I think it's great, but I am very, very fascinated by the archetypes on Rider-Waite. So that's why I just wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So let's go into the association of plant with card. And I'd love to ask you, is this something that you've developed, or do we know this to be a correlation that has existed for a long time?
There's a correlation that has existed for a long
Okay.
time. I can't give you direct specific dates or anything, but throughout history, you'll find books that relate the planets, like the sun or the moon, to different herbs.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I do it.
Okay.
I've researched, I studied, and I'll look at how the plant relates to an element. And there's many different ways a plant can relate to an element. It may be a plant that loves the sun, and like St. John's wort loves the sun. Sunflower loves the sun. They're sun related plants, so they are fire element. There are plants that help you to relax, help you sleep, like the chamomile and the lemon balm. And they are water element because they help you to relax. There are some that bloom in the moon. So there's different aspects on the way that they can relate to an element. Also, well, this is more aromatherapy. It's kind of where the plant is derived, where the oil is derived from the plant. Does it come from a root? It's an earth element.
I see. Yeah.
Does it come from a flower? Well, flower's about attraction and love. It's water element because water's love.
Cool.
So there's different ways you can relate them to the cards, and I kind of base them off planets and what they like.
You're an aromatherapist. Which came first, the tarot and wisdom, or were you a student of aromatherapy?
It's interesting because I was actually introduced to the tarot when I was 10 years old.
Oh my gosh. That's
My
so
sister's
awesome.
13 years older, and she bought a deck at a garage sale, brought it home. She learned it. She started teaching me when I was 10. So they've been in and out of my life. I'm 62 now. Yeah, getting up there. But they've been in and out of my life for a long time. And when I got into my 40s, I really started delving into them again and wanting to know about them. And at the same time, I was starting to study aromatherapy. And I was working with this lady that worked with the elements. And she had created a line of oils that related to the elements. And I was starting to learn about the elements and plants and all this. And then one day I picked up a tarot book, and I was actually studying tarot for once instead of just playing with the cards. And I noticed that there's 4 suits in the tarot, and each suit relates to a different element. And I went, oh my God.
Ding, ding. Right. Yeah.
If the tarot cards relate to an element, and the oils relate to an element, and the herbs relate to an element, we can bring this all together.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And should do. Because again, if you are getting guidance from the cards, how to then keep going with it, to hold on to it.
Well, of course, if you're using the Tarot Apothecary approach, it's about, taking steps and calling in the energies you need to continue to move forward.
Ritual.
Yeah.
In that way.
Right now, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would just want to say, again, I'm reinforcing what you said, that ritual doesn't have to be this heavy, time-consuming methodology. It can be truly, I think it's about consistency and practice.
Right. Yeah. And really focusing on what energies you want to call in during this time in your life. I've used it for job interviews before, and I always wear red to a job interview because I want to bring out the Queen of Wands. She's fire element. Okay. So I will wear red, hence the red lipstick today.
I love it. Looks fabulous.
I will wear red, and I will call in her energies of leadership, courage, charisma, confidence. And I go into that interview as the Queen of Wands. That's
Nice.
kind of how I work it. You can use
Nice.
it for 2 hours, or you can use it for a full year. Of this year, I'm working with the Queen of Pentacles and the Magician, and I'm creating my new business, and I'm taking the grounded approach. What are my steps? I need to plan. I need to, look at my finances. It's all about just working with the card to get to where you want, and then calling in the next energy that you need, and switching up your oils, switching up your teas, switching up your mantra. And yeah, so it's really fun. And I even create an altar with my cards. I'm going this way because I have an altar over here, with my cards on it that I'm working with, along with cards that relate to the element. I will go buy greeting cards in the store that just all of a sudden pop out, and I go, oh, she's so fire, I'm taking that card. So using greeting cards, using different tarot decks, using oracle decks, all those things that give you the image of the energy that you're wanting to call in to support you.
Very much so. All right. So in our final moments with each other, I'm going to talk. I want to talk. I'm referencing the plant magic that I see on your site, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that, because that's a personal fascination. And you've described some of it, that through the ages there are attributes that are assigned to plants, and I just would like to see, question you further on that. If there's anything else you'd like to offer. Herbology. I know you lived up in Portland. I think there's some great. I've been to some great herb shops up there. I think there might even be a school of herbology up there.
Actually, I went for a year to herbalism school.
Yeah.
Back in 2019, just because I wanted to.
Amazing.
And that's another thing that I talk about in the book, is that do what lights you up. If something calls to you, do it. You don't have to have a logical reason to do it. I went to herb school not wanting to become an herbalist. I just wanted to know more about herbs, and so I went for a year. So yeah, there's a ton of information here in Portland, and in Oregon in general.
Yeah.
That you can buy herbs from, you can learn from. So it's really interesting how the plants can relate to different energies, the energetics of the plants. And it's fascinating.
No, it's great. And thus the aromatherapy as well, and how that's all correlating in there. No, it's really, really powerful. So tell us about how your book came together and what the process has been. Has this been something that just came through rather quickly, or has it been bubbling under for quite some time?
Well, it was funny because it was probably about 6 years ago. I kind of wanted to write a book, and I don't know where that came from, because I had never thought of writing. It just wasn't in my plans. And I had an idea to write a book about tarot and the elements, and I got this little, I wrote up some stuff on it, and I knew I was going to run into Barbara Moore at the Northwest Tarot Symposium that year. And I didn't know her, and I was going to ask her about it, but I chickened out. I didn't ask her anything. I just put the idea away and said, and then another lady I know came out with a book about the tarot and elements. I said, okay, that's gone. And I just let it go. I didn't think about it and didn't think about writing a book. And then in 2020, just before COVID hit, I got really sick, and they thought I had pneumonia, and they put me on all this medicine. One of them was prednisone, and it keeps you awake at night. And I couldn't sleep. And I was laying in bed one night, and I had a fever. And all of a sudden, the whole idea just came to me. It was like a download.
Incredible.
It was just like, boom. And I went, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Really? This is what and it was just like, I was so excited. And so it just came to me at once, and I just started writing it, and I wrote it in like 9 months.
That is so great. I love these stories of divine inspiration. I always ask to share with our listeners, just stay tuned in. I mean, it's really amazing. And there's so many examples of this that it just comes through. So bravo. That's great. And I can't wait to take a closer look at it. Well, speaking of the cards, we had talked about maybe you'd pull one for us.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I was
pull it.
wondering if you've got a message, and this is going to be good for evermore, right? Whether you are watching when this first airs or if you find it years
Right.
later, right?
This message is for whoever watches or listens to this conversation. Oh, and one other thing I did want to mention is that in the book, I do teach you how to blend
Oh,
in 3 different ways. So there's techniques for you to make your own potions.
fabulous.
Plus there's recipes. So
amazing.
okay, I'm going to pull a card and see what we get. Oh, we got the World.
Okay.
So the World is a great card. It talks about completion in a sense because it's the last tarot card in the deck. So it's about completion, and it's about getting to a place that you want to be at. You've got the whole world in front of you, and you've created what you want to create. And it's a great place to be. So it's kind of like the energy of really celebrate your life right now. Enjoy where you're at, because the world will turn and things are going to change. So embrace what's happening for you right now in your life. The things that bring you joy, look at those, embrace that energy. Don't let it pass you by, and start planning for the next move, because the world will turn and it all starts over again. So you're in a good place right now. Enjoy it while you can, and start planning for your next move, because the whole world's in front of you.
The whole world's for you. And thank you. That's great. And one of the things that I went to when you mentioned the world is that I was thinking about that we were talking about all the elements and how that is part of the world too. So I was going to planet Earth, the world, in a way. So
yes.
That was a takeaway for me. And I think it's great. And also when you were giving the description, I was thinking about how that applies to you and what you've accomplished. And I hope that we can all take a message from you as far as pursuing your interests, what really makes your heart sing.
Just follow, as my friend Carrie says, follow what lights you up. Take the next step on your path that lights you up, and do it. Just do it. It's kind of that message. Don't let things pass you by. If something calls you, do it.
I love that. Aho.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. So again, Tarot Apothecary. It's a beautiful looking book. Congratulations. This is your premiere as an author, your debut as an author, correct?
I know. I'm so excited.
Well, we'll make sure that link is shared, and we are very, very grateful that you've had a chance to talk to us and tell us about it. And you're doing fascinating work. It's beautiful, and it's a real holistic approach without being in any way heavy-handed, or you have to buy these expensive oils or anything like that. It's truly a celebration of nature and how it applies to long time stories that we get from the cards that we pull, and the happenstance of pulling a card and the message that comes from it, and then taking it, grounding it in a way, right? Because the cards are kind of like out there, but when you apply it to a plant and bring it into a daily practice, you ground it. And I think that is a really, really great offering and a fun message for us. So super grateful to have you here.
It was so fun to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Until the next time, thank you again.
Right.
So we really appreciate you listening, everyone. Truth Be Told Transformation, we are here as a conscious community to really just try to make sure everybody's feeling their best and know that anything is possible when taken with an open heart. So I'll remind you to always watch for our shows. We have new episodes every week. Tony Sweet is live on Fridays at 3 p.m., and so check him out. That'll be 3 p.m. Pacific. Check him out. I'm going to have a new show on Wednesdays and Robert Hensley on Mondays. So we appreciate you subscribing, sharing. Make sure you see what we're up to. And until the next time, I wish you my very best. Shine on.